Welcome back, Flyers nitty-gritty fans, to Getting Gritty with It with your host, Wolok, my partner in crime, as always, Vasili Gianarakos. Vasili, my man, what's going on, brother?
Doing really good, Yariv. Coming off a pretty big rivalry win for the Flyers there
Yes,
against the
sir.
Penguins. Was it a really exciting game to watch last night?
Yeah.
Probably the most exciting maybe of the season so far. We're gonna get into a lot surrounding that game, but yeah, just to see the Flyers Penguins kind of have a heated, really close game like that, it almost brings you back to the good old Giroux Crosby matchups, right? But yeah, that was just a fun one to watch last night. What was your thoughts on the game?
Oh, it was awesome to watch. I was also, it was an ESPN game, so I'm sitting there just going, these freaking guys, dude. I was talking to my roommate, like while we were watching it together, and they were like trying to pretend like it was like an even game, and I'm like, these guys are so obsessed with Crosby. Just be honest, the Flyers are whooping them right now. I was like, they're
They
carrying
outplayed them for majority of the
for
game.
for like 90% of the
Yeah.
game, and then like finally towards the at least the third period, they're like, oh, the Pens really need to wake up. I'm like,
And then the
yeah,
Crosby gets the most Crosby type goal of
and
all
they're just
time.
showing it over and over again. I'm like, it's the most luckiest goal in the
But
world.
that's
Like,
such a Crosby goal. Like he's behind the net. He always throws the puck out
yeah.
front. Like it's
I mean,
typical
he's
Crosby.
excellent, right? He's smart player, but he wasn't trying to hit it off of Sealer
No, he's
and
trying to
into
center
the
that
net. Yeah, he was
pass.
trying to
So
just center and get in the middle so somebody gets a piece of it. Um,
I will
but
say though, two overtime disallowed goals so far this season, but
yeah,
still one OT win there, right? Like at least the Flyers end up getting the win with the shootout, despite the disallowed goals. So I think you can look at it one way of being a negative thing of like why are they even calling that play? The offsides are just like
yeah,
taking away really nice goals for being scored. Because if you ask any player, like when you're playing in the heat of the moment like that, that little 1 inch, nobody's really taking that into account. So I just think seeing a great goal from Forsher getting taken away and then to have the Flyers still lose, like that would be really sour taste. So to see them
yeah.
get rewarded and actually get the shootout win, like especially after a really, a game where they controlled play pretty much majority of the time, like
Didn't
yeah, it's
you
just a
didn't
good
you
silver
almost
lining.
didn't you almost want it to go to like, all right, well, if we didn't get that goal, this game needs to go to a shootout because we're gonna beat them in a
Well,
shootout.
yeah, at this
I
point,
had
I
that
mean,
vibe
I
like the
did I
entire
did as
time.
well. Well, my thought process was at this point, you have Zegras obviously in the shootout. He wasn't able to shoot because of the shenanigans,
Yeah,
but I was just thinking when it was happening, like you'd have Zegras potentially shoot, Michkov be an option,
and
Konecny
then
and Brink are
Brink.
good at it. Like the
It's re-
Flyers,
it's really it's really Zegras, Michkov, and Brink are like the top three. It
yeah.
seems like in the
And then
team.
Ersson's really, really good at the shootout too. He's 10-3 now for that win. So just naturally he's good in
I think
terms
he
of
has
like
the
those breakaway shots, right?
I think
So
he has the best record of goalies in the league for a shootout. I
it might
think.
be. I'm not sure, but it
Yeah, and
might
I
be,
think
yeah.
Michkov's at like 55%, something like that, right now in the shootout, which is also insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really weird to see the Flyers be like a shootout, you know, I don't want to say powerhouse, but to be for it to be a strength of the
Yeah,
team.
you
We've seen, yeah,
typically it's the opposite,
it's the
right? Where
opposite.
the Flyers are losing every single shootout they get into.
Yeah.
So I think for longstanding Flyers fans that have seen it go from that to this, it's welcomed, right? Because we kind of saw them be terrible at the shootout for years. Now it's a whole 180. So
Yeah. For those who I love it though, that lack elite talent. It's really dynamicism. Like dynamic ability is what this team has lacked, not skill. Like they lacked in tight,
well, that breakaway
stick
ability to like,
handlers.
yeah, that stick handling ability, that dangle ability to like, let me make this
Yeah.
move on the goalie that he hasn't seen before that I can freeze him with it, right? Like that
Right.
creativity almost,
Yeah,
right? So
that's what they've lacked. Not like NHL caliber players, which I feel like was said way too often. All right, let's get through the usual spiel and then we'll get into the show. Just want to remind everybody, please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for notifications to get notified when we release these episodes. Share it out if you can. That's also humongous help. And also for the audio version, go to Spotify and iTunes, give us a rating and a follow. If you have not done that so far, we humbly appreciate it. If you could do that, again, it is the best way to support this show. Also, shout out to our sponsor, Jim Steaks at 4th and South. Make sure to go get yourself a cheesesteak from Jim's. They have one of the best, if not the best, cheesesteak in Philadelphia. Make sure to check out Jim Steaks at 4th and South. Also, Summit Public Adjusters, 215-752-0560. Go to them for your insurance adjustment needs. They will facilitate process between you and your insurance company and make sure you get the best claim possible. Again, Summit Public Adjusters, 215-752-0560. And also want to give a brief shout out to our partner, SportsBiter.com. Guys, if you're tired of searching multiple websites for sports news, SportsBiter.com has you covered. They collect the latest articles, videos, and podcasts from around the web and organize them by your favorite teams. If you want to stay as up to date on our Philadelphia Flyers or the NHL in general, make sure to check out sportsbetter.com. The link is in the description for both the video and audio versions of this podcast. Again, our stuff, we are partners with them, so our stuff's always pinned at the top. So make sure to check out sportsbetter.com. Okay, we're going to go through a little bit of news, then we're going to talk about specific players. And then the second half, we're going to talk about the lineup. We're going to do a screen share because that's just fun. And we'll go through like lineup and we'll talk about playoff opportunities from the early success we've seen so far and the trend that's heading in the right direction. And then we'll end on quick prospect updates. All right. So the first piece of news has already happened a couple days ago, but obviously we didn't get to comment on it. So Jet Luchanko, after playing just 4 games again this season, has been sent back to the OHL to play for Guelph. This was not very surprising considering his ice time, the fact that he's like freshly 19, turning 19 in August. He just wasn't getting the ice time, and Rodrigo Abels was playing well, and he's been getting like kind of the majority of that ice time now. So I think Danny, he did have the press conference, and this was my assumption is right. Like at a certain point, okay, this kid's playing like 8 minutes, 9 minutes a night. It's not enough. We need him playing, 17, 18, 20 minutes a night. That's better for his development. Ideally, everybody knows he probably should have started in the AHL this year, but was not available to him. So he goes back to the OHL to play for Guelph, a team that struggles considerably to put up points. We'll see if that status changes. Like maybe there will be some kind of trade in the, I don't know, somewhat distant future to see if he's maybe potentially moved to another team. But I don't think either one of us is surprised that he was sent back considering his usage. This has pretty much gone the way I anticipated it. It's like I knew he would make the team because of his contract status, right? We talked about it over and over again. They wanted to work with him. They wanted to evaluate him. And I think if he like stole the show, I think he probably would have stayed with the team. But at the current position he was in, the amount of ice time he was getting, like people I saw are harping on that, he had, no points in 4 games, -3 both seasons. His usage was completely different this season than last season. He was playing like 4th line minutes, not a lot of offensive opportunity. Where the previous year with Tortorella, he was given like a lot more playing time. So I think when they looked at it like that, and they're like, okay, if he would have used, if Taka would have used Luchanko in the same way, probably if Vladar wasn't part of the organization, Luchanko probably would have got a lot more ice time, probably would have put up at least a point in those 4 games. But, considering he's not shooting, right there, like I said this over and over again, he doesn't act like he belongs in the NHL, and that, in my opinion, was the burden. I think Briere hinted at that pretty much. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much sentiment and kind of echo what you said, Yariv. Like, if you look at the ice time for Luchanko, I think it was way below that threshold that the management was comfortable with in terms of keeping him. Like, I think if you were going to keep him on the roster for the full season here, you would have had to have him getting ice time of upwards of like 12 minutes at least a night. So I think if he was in that like 13, 14-minute range or even 12-minute range, you could maybe consider, hey, kid's getting over 10 minutes a night consistently in the games we've played him. 12 minutes is still a good chunk of NHL ice time to maybe continue to learn and maybe progress and even maybe end up on another line as the season goes along, right? Because we saw that little bit from him to start the season. I just think we haven't seen enough from him to start the season, and it was kind of always in his court in terms of like who's going to dictate if the player stays or not, right? Like I think if Luchanko blew everybody away and played to a certain extent where he was forcing Tocchet's hand to your point, right? To push him up the lineup, to play him on the power play, play
Yep.
him on the penalty kill, he would have gotten those opportunities, but he just wasn't playing that well and well enough to force the coach's hand in those situations. There's also a counter argument that I saw going around online kind of stating that, hey, well, in these situations, like players just need to kind of be given the ice time. They shouldn't have to earn it, for example.
Hmm.
I don't know about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like on one hand, I see it from a sense of like, hey, this is a guy that we picked very high in the draft. We have a lot invested in him, so we want to give him every opportunity. But it's not like the Flyers were limiting his opportunities. They would have moved him up the lineup if his play warranted that. It just never did. Like he was never creating a lot of scoring opportunities. He was never looking like the standout on that fourth line. He was kind of looking like a passenger in a lot of different scenarios. And I think you want to see a player who's young like that dictate
Hmm.
and make plays and show, like you said, that they belong at this level. He just wasn't at that point yet where he was showing that. And I think
Yeah.
to your point, it comes back to comfortability. Like in Briere's press conference, he even said, right, like Luchanko's a guy that has a good shot. We've seen him use the shot at the OHL level. He just doesn't seem to be comfortable enough to do it at the NHL level. And that's the thing that's mental to me, where it's like,
Yep.
hey, I'm in this position on the ice. Normally, I would shoot it when I was in the OHL and junior, but because I'm on the ice right now with so and so, so and so, and so and so, I'm in my own head and I'm not going to do what my instincts tell me, but I'm going to think about it too much. And sometimes that can hurt a player when you're overthinking things. And I think that's
Hmm.
natural with a young player just
Yeah.
because he's not necessarily in these spots, hasn't been in the NHL before. So it could be a lot for them and it could be an overwhelming situation. So I think, long story short, long-winded answer for me, but I would say
So was mine.
in terms of him going back to the OHL, it's the best spot for him just because he's going to get the most in-game situations, reps, and opportunities at that point. Ideally, the AHL, if he was allowed to go there, also would have been a great spot because he would have had the same happen there, right? Would have got all those different reps on the power play, penalty kill, probably in the top two line role at the AHL level. He'll still be able to do that at the OHL. It won't be the same level of competition, but at least he's going to be back into those top line level minutes in that role, right? And I think
Yeah.
the Flyers' point, and I think their main kind of thing is that if we kept him here, we did not project him to be better than a fourth line player on this team, right? And I think they realize if you have him playing fourth line minutes all season, how is that beneficial to his long term development? And it really isn't, right?
Yeah, and I do think his offensive game would have probably improved even in playing fourth line, but not at the same rate it would, playing top line center for the Phantoms, which is probably where he would have been playing, or
Yeah.
playing in college hockey or even in Europe, which he didn't have the luxury of going anywhere else except for OHL. So, and I will say this, I don't know much about the OHL season at this point. And I'm not going to lie, sit here and tell you guys that I'm an expert on Guelph, but I do recognize names from the previous season where Charlie Paquette, who is their captain, he was like essentially their leading point scorer last year, while Jet really was, especially point per game. But without Jet being there, it was Charlie Paquette. That's why he was given the captaincy. He also was drafted by Dallas. There are two very interesting names here that are sticking out to me right now, and I'm literally just looking this up as we're talking because I was curious while we were talking. So if you look at their lineup right now, they have two players: Carter Stevens, who has 7 goals, 7 assists, and 14 points in 13 games, and
Pretty good.
not a minus. And he is 17 years old, with a January birthday, so not that young, but he's playing center. So it's uh, interesting. What's more interesting is a 16-year-old who is tied with him in points. Or I'm sorry, he's a point per game, 7 goals, 6 assists. Let me see if I can say this name correctly because he's German. Jako Witziek, something like that. He
Hey,
is
good shot. Good
well,
try.
he's 16 years old.
What I
And
will say is Guelph's been terrible the last couple of years. So usually when you're a real bad team, you're going to get those
right,
selection priority picks coming from like those other junior
yes,
leagues, feeder leagues before the OHL level. So they might have got first shot at some of these younger guys that are supposed to be really talented players, right?
yes. And right now they're 6-5-2, which is not too bad. They're second to last in their division, 1 point behind the London Knights, who obviously lost a lot of talent. So I'm very curious to see who he's going to be playing with because maybe he's going to be playing with these young guys
But if they're
Um,
super talented, it could be a benefit to him. I mean,
right. So
ultimately,
that's
we
what I
know
was
that,
thinking.
yeah, we know that Guelph like isn't a world beater team. Like they're not supposed to be even
But maybe
much
they can
better,
make the
really.
playoffs.
Yeah, they're not supposed to be like as much better than they were last season, but like you said, they could challenge for the playoffs when you add some new talent. You never know how it's going to translate. And also too, like it might be an opportunity and who knows when this could happen in the season, but the best case scenario for Luchanko probably would be to get traded to a contender in the OHL.
Well,
So we'll
London
see if
Knights lost
that
a lot of talent.
yeah, we'll see if that comes into fruition or into
Yeah.
play. That'll probably be maybe later in the OHL season, but like what I could envision is Luchanko going to World Juniors because this is a part of it too, right? Like now he's going to be able to go to World Juniors in a situation where he wasn't just playing that 8 minutes a night. He's going to be playing top line minutes at the OHL. So he's going to be really accustomed to those top line level assignments. So he can kind of go to the World Juniors and be that, top six center for Canada. If he has a really good showing there, I imagine a lot of OHL teams are going to be calling about Jet Luchanko, especially if
Yes.
Guelph is continuing to struggle, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, realistically, Jet Luchenko is what, 2 months older than Porter Martone.
yeah,
So, ideally, he probably would be best served in college hockey. But playing in World Juniors is going to be really good for him, like you said.
he's going to
And
get a big chunk of like ice time. Like he'll be one of the main go-tos on
yeah,
their roster
and
for centers, right?
and I also think if Guelph adds a player of his caliber, they're not that bad right now. Maybe they can add a player like Luchenko and it kind of takes them into that playoff mix, like you were saying, and then he gets to play playoff time in the OHL too, would also be good for him. And that's without things changing. Obviously, he can definitely be traded, and I would argue they probably should, considering they're led by young guys, right? They probably should turn him over into picks and keep adding their system so they can get out of like that mediocrity level. But even in the short term here, I'm very interested to see because like last year was like Paquette was like
The
clear
only
cut
other
their
good
best
player.
player.
Yeah.
Right. So, the fact they have four players with as much points, if not more, and they're all younger from what I can tell, that's a good sign. Um, they're at least Charlie Paquette's age or younger. So that's a good sign, in my opinion. So hopefully they can be better as a team. Their goaltending numbers are pretty terrible, but that's a different story.
That probably
So
adds to their general issues, right?
yeah, well, it could be defensive issues, but again, they have four NHL players, or at least drafted players, on their team, including Luchenko. So that's not too bad actually for an OHL
Not the
team.
worst in the OHL.
Yeah.
I'm sure
So
there's worse teams.
yeah, maybe they're trending in the right direction. So we'll see. That could have played a role into what the Flyers were thinking too. Is like maybe Guelph is a little bit better. Maybe we can put him down there. They could really compete, and it's not just like all on him. But I still don't believe it would be negative if he's on a bad team. The only negative is that he doesn't get to play as much in those meaningful games at the end of the
Yeah,
year.
that's
But to be the go-to guy in a league where you missed the previous draft by like 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
not that bad.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's kind of like okay, he had to spend a little longer in OHL, but we can give or take here a couple weeks, and
It
he's
would
not
be it
even.
would be a huge concern if this was happening like next year. Obviously, it couldn't
Yes,
because
I
you
agree.
could send him to the AHL. But like if he was 1 year older in the development track, for example, right, and this was happening, then you'd be concerned. In this
But
case, not
but like you
concerned at
said, it wouldn't
all.
have
Yeah.
happened, right? He would have been in the minors, and we're gonna go through statistics for like the Flyers, like top young players in the AHL level, and Bump has 3 points in 7 games. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's a process. People are like, I love Boyum. I'll make it very clear. I wanted him. Okay, this is
Yeah,
like
me too.
I just hate the whole like I
They're
still
different
see.
positions, different players. You firstly can't compare a defenseman and a center. They're doing different things, bringing different skill sets to your team. My
Sure.
whole thing versus like the Boyum Jet fiasco, and I guess like determination by the front office is they really liked Luchanko. They knew if they didn't take him or someone else was gonna select him, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's just like you can address one need or another need. If they didn't take Luchanko, that center depth is looking a whole lot more thin right? You could argue, hey, the defense is more shored up, but you're still having to fix that problem anyway at some point with the center. So, you have to pick and choose your battles in terms of
Yeah.
what you're trying to address
Well,
sometimes, right?
I will say they also didn't know they were going to be able to select Jack Nesbitt and Porter Martone the following year,
Yeah.
right? So, like, if, you could go back and say, hey, because they do need a defenseman really badly. I don't know if Boyum is exactly the type of the defenseman that they're looking to add, especially when you look at the fact that he's, like, not very good at 5-on-5 right now. He's a power play guy, which is valuable. And he probably will be better than that 5-on-5 throughout his career. But, um, again, like it really comes to the issue, and we'll move on past Luchanko, that the Flyers offense, it's not it's not that it has like the best elite talent in the league. It's extremely deep. And you saw it against the Penguins and how much trouble they were giving the Pittsburgh Penguins, who were one of the hottest teams in the NHL. They struggled mightily against the Flyers because the Flyers can attack at all four lines. Though I will say that Delorier do that word you use, neutering the fourth line, 100%, dude. It's like the best word for
You
it.
know what? They were rolling that fourth line though, even with him on it. Last night they had a couple good shifts. They had one shift where they got hemmed in, but to your point, like they're at their most effective when Grabenkin is on that line
Yeah,
versus.
yeah, yeah. But again, and he probably will be next game. And when you
Yeah.
look at Gabrankin, even Obels and Hathaway, that fourth line is annoying to play against and has scoring punch on it with Gabrankin and Hathaway. We know Hathaway can score some goals at NHL level. Obels has shown good flashes, but he has yet to do it on a consistent basis. So, but that this also like leaves room for what happens next, and I didn't have this on here. Probably should just mention it right now. We'll transition into him specifically. Emil Andrae was called up, so he's now that man. We know the Flyers wanted 8 defensemen to begin with, or at least Tocchet did. So
Now
now
they
they
got it.
have their 8 defensemen with Risto being injured. So again, it creates opportunities for other guys, and you have a bunch of guys in their early 20s, mid 20s who still are looking for that opportunity. So next year it's going to get even more complicated, and that's why we're going to look at the lineup later, because I do want to start talking about that even now. We tend to do that. But creates new opportunity. So any comments about Andre getting called up? We'll look at the lineup options, but obviously he hasn't played. He didn't play in the Pens game.
He looked good right in a short stint when he got called up with the Flyers earlier this season. He's been
Yeah,
playing well for the
near
Phantoms.
point per game.
Yeah, they've been having a hot start down in Lehigh, and he's been a big part of it. He was running their power play, playing PK, you name it. He's basically the number one defenseman down there. So I think it's just a good thing for Andre, right? Like to me, I think he's earned being on this team, in my opinion. Like I think he's showed enough flashes compared to his other competition where he should likely be in the lineup. Obviously, he's gonna have to prove it now when it's, his turn. When eventually he does re-enter, it will be at some point here. I imagine what's gonna happen is with the 8 defensemen. Now, firstly, it's going to help you in practice because you can run 4 pairings, so you don't just have
Yeah,
that one extra guy. But secondly, you could see one pair rotate in one game, one pair rotate in the
yeah,
other game,
yeah. It's
right?
true.
And kind of see which
Like
pairing
Andre
is,
Yinning, but
yeah.
we haven't seen Juleson really sat.
No, no,
Not
no.
that
And
he
that's
deserves it, but
he's been all right, but I'm saying that's the caveat that you could do
yeah.
that where you're just like, hey, we have one pairing that's like more offensive minded, maybe with like Andre and Yinning. We have more of like a shutdown pairing with like Yulson and Zamula,
This,
right? Or
this
something
is
like
kind of
that.
the problem I have with Andre getting called up with the current situation of the team. I really hope this happens, is that he just takes the
I hope he
spot.
cements himself. Yeah,
Right.
like that
It's
was
like
that was my
it's
point.
not even
Was like
rotated anymore.
now at least you have the opportunity that you can finally re-enter the lineup, and hopefully when you re-enter, it's just like full bore ahead, you never look back type of thing. And
Yeah, because he didn't play
that's my
poorly when he did play.
yeah, that's my hope, right? Whereas like, hey, you get him in there, he's playing well, makes a couple nice plays, makes a couple nice passes, maybe gets a couple of assists on certain plays, and then you can't really take him out, right? Like he's contributing to your success in a clear manner. So why would we remove him, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of my hope for him. Because I think he's better than the other options, honestly, just in terms of skill level.
Yeah.
Will
Yeah.
he show it? Who knows, right? I think that's kind of what we're waiting for. Like
Well, he's got
see
his
it
opportunity
translate.
now.
Yeah, to see it translate from that AHL level to NHL level. Like I said, we've seen flashes. Let's see him hopefully hit the ground running here, and then that opportunity is taken advantage of,
Yeah,
right?
and let's see what happens because he's got a good amount of time, especially with the Risto injury now to kind of take hold of this position without threat of being sent back down. It's just like a shame because I don't want to see him like sitting around. I don't really mind Yinning and Zamula sitting around that much, but we'll see. Tockett's done a good job of rotating these guys in. They've all played well. So, there is a benefit to it also. So we'll see what goes on with Andre, especially because the power play positions are kind of locked up. But he's not just a power play player. Like that's not his style. People, he's not a pure offensive defenseman. He is a two-way defenseman. He's just
There's some
small.
snarl. There's some snarl
Yeah,
to
he's
his
just
game.
small. It's not that he doesn't play like a two-way game. He's a two-way defenseman. He's like a smaller version of Cam York in a lot of ways, at least in like the playing style. So, hopefully he can find his NHL role. And then when Risto comes back, it's hopefully Andre and Risto, which is a pairing we saw, was very successful last year, at least midway through the season. That would be ideal for the Flyers,
I think
with
if
like
you're
Noah
looking at
Juleson as the extra.
yeah, if you're looking at like the best on paper defensive lineup they could ice, like that would probably be it, right? Like you'd have
Yeah.
York and Sanheim, you'd have Sealer Drysdale, obviously, and then you could have York or not York, Andre and Ristolainen. But in that case, and if it works out that way, then you wouldn't have to break up your top two pairs that are performing pretty well right now. So that would be like an ideal, but we'll have to see, right, how it works
Yeah.
out.
And we don't know what kind of trades, Briere's working on. We know they're looking for a defenseman. We know Andre is a RFA, or not Andre, I'm sorry. Zamula is an RFA. And, there might be some movement, and it could be Andre included in that too, that just like they might be like, okay,
Let's upgrade. Yeah.
let's upgrade because we're going to draft. We already drafted a few young defensemen. We're going to probably be drafting another one. Maybe not this year, but at least in the second round, they might be drafting, like not in the first round, but maybe second round, depending on where they land in the standings. So we'll see what's going on with that. We're going to look at the lineup in the second half. That's why I wanted to do that because the Phantoms are a little thin on D. Losing Andre is kind of a big loss for them with the injuries they have. Speaking of injuries, Danny Briere did give us a couple updates on important injuries. We mentioned Ristolainen. This is as of 2 days ago. He said Risto is progressing nicely. He's pretty much on schedule to return when he was supposed to return. So he said anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks from the beginning of this week. So that really leaves him till like early to,
Thanksgiving.
yeah, but like early to mid December seems like the most realistic. Um, Probably early December, right? At the
Yeah.
pace he's at
Best
least
case would be
skating,
like that Thanksgiving around there.
right?
You see him start to like maybe hit the ice and then first week of December type of deal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, probably the holidays, maybe right after the holidays. We'll see how he's progressing. But that's a big addition for the Flyers. I know a lot of people were like down on him. Look at how all these other guys performed, and Risto is much better than they are. So he would be a huge addition. The trickier one, though, is with Oliver Bonk, who, quite frankly, if he was healthy right now, he'd probably be playing at least a huge role for the Phantoms, and realistically could have been rotated in the beginning of the season just to give him a little bit of NHL
Yeah.
experience.
Now with Andre too getting called up, like he would have definitely had a way bigger role, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, and I suspect they want to get him back as soon as possible. However, Briere mentioned that his situation is a little trickier. They only mention upper body injury and they don't have an exact timeline. He mentioned that it's still week to week. So we're kind of speculating it's a concussion. Hopefully that's not the case, but
I
usually when
hope
you
not.
don't
Yeah.
know a timetable, it's usually the head. So hopefully we're wrong. I guess it could be the groin too, but they said upper body. So, not a great
That's the
way to
upper
start
part of
your
your thigh. There you
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. Wherever your penis is,
Yeah, literally.
that's the upper part of the body. It's the penis and the brain. They're the same thing anyway. Um,
I
so
will
yeah,
say with Bonk, man, like just the way that they're kind of being super
coy.
cryptic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cryptic. Yeah,
cryptic about it. Like I would assume it's a concussion. I
right.
don't want I like that's the worst case scenario for any player because
Sure.
those injuries are just hard to gauge in terms of when you can return, when you're feeling better. Like one day you might feel fine, next day you wake up with a bunch of headaches. Like it's tough to monitor and tough to
Yeah.
gauge. So that's why I hope it's not that, and I hope the Flyers are just being super, super cryptic for no reason. But typically, when teams are cryptic like this, it is usually head related. We've been through these concussions before
Yeah.
and seen how these injuries get communicated. It would not surprise me because if it was like a broken rib or a broken wrist or a broken arm, they'd just say, yeah, he broke that and he'll be back
Yeah.
once it's healed, right?
Which,
So, yeah,
yeah. And I can understand why they don't want to say if it's a concussion or not.
the fan base gets
Hope,
all whirled up for those
yeah. I
things,
mean,
right? So,
I also don't blame people for being upset or extremely worried about something like this already because we've been bitten in the past.
yeah.
Obviously, Nolan Patrick being the big one. But obviously, we had the Chris Pronger situation, we had the Keith Primo situation. But watching a young guy come into the NHL and then just kind of disappear is never a great look. So hopefully, they can be more communicative. I imagine retrospectively, they might tell us like when he comes back, they'll be like, yeah, he was dealing with a concussion or whatever. But for now, I'm like kind of anticipating similar return to Risto, and regardless, he's gonna be playing in the minors when he comes back. But he's a big, it's a big loss for the Phantoms. Like he was gonna be like a pretty big part of this
He
defense.
would have been a bona fide top four option for them, right? So,
Yeah, immediately, and the fact that they're missing Ethan Sampson also a loss. They're missing two of their three right-handed defenders.
now you
So
call up Andre as well. It's a lot of holes for
yeah,
sure, but they do have depth on defense, the Phantoms. Like they have a lot of guys that were scratched. So, I mean, at least you
well,
get other guys into the
not
lineup in a sense.
not so much like AHL surefire guys. They really have. We'll take a look at it later, but a lot of these guys are like, they
Borderline.
have like two or three ECHL guys that they've been rotating in. So like it is a little bit of a loss. The Flyers are a little thin at D. But they did add the new guy Guriev. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
But he's not every night either. But Ty Murchison's done an admirable job. So um, they're gonna need probably another defenseman on the back end. That's kind of my point. But we'll see how they do. And when they get healthy, it's a moot point. But losing, having three right-handed defensemen in the organization out to start the year for significant time is not great. It's not great, especially with the Flyers now rotating eight defensemen. So I wouldn't be surprised if they look to add another defenseman, especially now with Jet Luchanko's contract going back to the OHL. It opens up a contract spot. So I wouldn't be shocked if they look to add somebody else. And you look at Tuamala, who's barely playing. That might be the move. Okay, we'll
Possibly.
we'll talk about that later. The other injury update, and this one's coming today from practice, is Samuel Ersson was not at practice today. According to Rick Tocchet, he tweaked something. He's listed as day to day right now. He did play well. He had one shitty goal, unacceptable goal in my opinion. I guess it's like under. He had a good game though outside of that one
Hey, I
goal.
mean, Messier, I don't know if you heard Messier on the
Yeah, he
broadcast,
was
but he
100%
was
right.
like, this is an AHL goal. And like when you have a
It's
guy
a
like
ECHL
Messier,
goal.
when you have a guy like Messier just like blatantly yelling it
Oh,
out like that
Ayrton
at
knows
the
it.
intermission. No, Ersson definitely knows it. He knows it's a terrible one. You're the first one to know it when it's a stinker that you let in.
Oh, it
But
was bad.
I just thought it was hilarious from Messier because like those guys who used to play are usually so classy and like they don't like shit on players like that. But to see
Yeah.
Messier do it, like it was bad.
Yeah, it was really bad, and it was because like the Flyers were working the Penguins at the time, and I'm like, oh, they're definitely scoring
Terrible
first.
time to give a goal up,
Yeah, and
right?
I'm
Take
like,
away all the
oh,
momentum.
yeah, and that's still Erson's
Weak
problem is
spot,
that
I
he
guess.
he I don't know if maybe that's his weak spot, but his weakness is that he gives up one savable goal a game. You
One
know,
softy, yeah.
yeah, he lets in one softie a game as of right now. Hopefully that goes away because after that he played really well. Like the Crosby goal was not his fault at all.
That was
Um,
a fluke. That
yeah,
like if
and
Crosby did that like 100 more times, he'd get that to go in like one more time. Like that was a
yeah,
fluke.
right. And he does do really well in general in the shootout. So he's a talented goalie, but he's got to figure out how to get rid of that one bad goal game. That's like a must.
That
If
could
it
just be like a mental lapse type of thing where you just lose focus for that 1 second and then boom,
yeah,
the puck's past you,
it
right?
was weird because he was there, but I don't know what he was thinking because it squeezed right through him. Like it was bad. But hopefully he's okay because if he's not, I would imagine the Flyers have to call up Kolosov to play backup. because they have
Well,
back-to-back
yeah, I
games.
mean, Talkett in the presser, I mean, he indicated and kind of downplayed it, right? Like he
Yeah.
just said it was a tweak. But to your point, right? Like they have 4 games this week, 3 and 4 is coming up. So if he's not healthy, you're gonna have to get Kolosov in. They're not gonna go to Vladar back to back. That's just too much of a risk because if he gets hurt in that situation, then you
Yep.
really are in a tough spot. So we could see Kolosov as early as this weekend, perhaps, but I guess we'll have to monitor and see what happens.
Yeah.
We kind of said this though, right? Like I don't think we're in a spot right now in this day and age of the NHL where you're not seeing 3 goalies used really
No, it's like
in
a
a season
must.
by most teams. Like most teams after the season, if you go back and look at the stats, like every team would have probably used a third goaltender at least for a handful of games. So it's not necessarily something that's new. It's kind of been like the new normal almost for the NHL where you don't really have those guys that are like starting 60, 70 games a year for you really
Yep.
anymore.
Yeah. And Kolosov's had a solid start so far at the AHL level. Very good start, actually. And this team has played better defense for the goaltenders. Both goalies' numbers have been, well, Ersson's are becoming reasonable after last win, only giving up 2 goals. But Vladar is
Dar's like
excellent.
top 5 in
Yeah,
the
he's got
league. So
excellent numbers. So hopefully, under this environment, being a little bit older, Kolosov would have more success. But we don't know. And the thing is, though, I don't feel that comfortable with Ersson being on the bench if he tweaks something and having to go in as backup. So I wonder if they're just gonna like we're gonna hear a Kolosov call up if he's not better by like tomorrow. You know what I mean?
probably, yeah. To be
Yeah.
honest, probably while people are listening to this, like there could be some news on that because I'd
Right.
imagine with the Nashville game happening Thursday and then the back-to-backs on the
Over the
weekend, like
weekend.
you're gonna want to call up Kolosov pretty quick if you know Ursson's not ready. So
Right, exactly. I just wouldn't chance it. I guess we'll see what they do. Okay, let's talk about some players. So the first one I want to talk about, and he's been a big standout star for the Flyers in all situations. It's Noah Cates. I mean, I've tooted the horn about this guy nonstop. I've always loved Noah Cates, and he just seems to be blossoming. Like I see a top 6 center. Obviously, that line has been excellent. You know, the combination of the 3 guys, all 3 of them have played very well. And we can talk about all 3 of them when we encompass this conversation about Noah Cates. But, you know, he had the most minutes of any forward last game playing against Sidney Crosby's line and really shut down Crosby. Like Crosby had a lucky goal, you know, which all generational players tend to do. Find a way to score anyway, even when they're getting outplayed. But he did outplay Sidney Crosby. We've seen him do this before, but his offensive game has come out. He just every shift, he's just dangerous, poised, right? Like in the corners, coming out, you know, getting like semi breakaways on a regular basis. I mean, if he continues on this trend, I'm not saying he's a favorite to win a Selkie, but I could see him in the conversation to at least get some votes, to at least
oh
be,
yeah.
you know, brought up at some point during the season. He is like playing center to the elite level that Sean Couturier was playing center. You know, he's not as good on faceoffs, but defensively, he's been fantastic,
I
and
imagine
his
that'll
line is
improve
killing it.
though. Like I imagine even the faceoffs will improve. Like he only started playing center a couple seasons
That's
ago and
crazy.
he's already decent. So like
Yeah.
imagine in 5 seasons, right? How the progression
He's
will
at
be, right?
50%. Yeah.
Exactly. So we might see it rise even more. I just think to your point, like for me, he just seems to be getting better almost every game. Like I'm seeing a natural progression. Maybe that line in general just seems to be getting better, but
That's also true.
he's just hunting the puck out there. Like when they're on the ice and the other team has the puck and they kind of dump it into the corners, like I'm almost expecting them to retrieve it and get it
Yeah.
back. Like it's pretty much a 9 out of 10 thing. Just the tenaciousness, the way they cycle the puck down low, like he's a huge part of that. But also his ability to like bring the puck to the net. I feel like in past seasons he might have been hesitating or like trying to pass, but now when he's around that net and he has a clear vision or clear sight towards it, he just brings the puck right to the net and
Yep.
who knows what's going to happen. But once you're comfortable to make those plays, usually and typically what you're taught from a young age is, hey, puck to the net, good things happen. He's keeping it simple, and it's a benefit for the line and also for him. There's one play specifically in overtime where he gets the puck like on a battle, and then completely blows by, I forget what Penguin, and then almost has a breakaway chance and scores. Like I thought he was going to score on that, and I was like, wow, look at Cates, look at the speed he has, right? So
Yeah,
it's not just even from a defensive perspective, it's offensive. Like look at the power play, right? Like that second power play unit was almost being used as a first unit last game. They looked better,
they
honestly,
are
with
being used as a
Zegras.
first unit. Yeah.
Yeah, they look better than the first unit. He gets the power play assist on Brink's goal. Like, so it's not just a defensive thing, right? Like he's contributing to even offensive situations on the power play where the coach is saying, hey, I have Michkov, Couturier, Konecny I could put on as a unit, but no, I'm going to Noah Cates and his line and his unit on the power play
They're playing
instead.
against the team's best players
Well,
as
yeah, to your
well.
point, right? Like he's playing against Crosby's line. They're not even putting Couturier out against Crosby. So it just shows you the confidence that the coach has in that line in general and in Cates for those matchups where you're taking on those upper echelon type players. Like the coaching staff obviously sees that, hey, he can handle those matchups, right? And it's only going to get better and progress because you have to think about it like he's still only 25. So he hasn't even barely scratched the surface of entering his prime. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think we're watching a player who will probably be like the envy of the league type of guy where like every team wishes they had a Noah Cates.
yeah.
And some teams do have their own version, like Lundell or whatever in Florida, right? Like
And he's
another.
the same type of thing. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So, and I think Noah Cates has like 60-point potential, in him, and he's at that pace right now. So, that line's definitely helping. I mean, Bobby Brink has really blossomed as a player. I mean, he is
He's all
tenacious,
over it.
all over,
I feel like I've been
never,
saying it
yeah,
every episode so far this season, like
he's
in
all
terms of
over
the
the puck
podcast. But
every game.
yeah, literally every time he's
All
on the
three of them
ice,
are like that.
pretty much. But it's just like they close the gaps for each other. Like one guy's forechecking, the other guy's also behind, so there's nowhere to go. Like
Yeah,
you're staying connected, which helps the line. But I think for Brink, like the main thing is just even though he's a smaller guy, it doesn't stop him from getting into those battles or going in there like and trying to win those battles. Where some guys in some situations when you're a smaller player, you might not always have that mindset to do that. He seems to not be phased by it, right? Like
yeah,
I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna win those battles, I'm gonna challenge. If I don't win, I'm gonna put up a fight in there. So just yeah, just in general, like the tenacity, but also just quickness. I just feel like he's a step quicker this season even from last season.
definitely,
We kind of said the
definitely.
same thing last season, like, oh, Brink looks quicker. Well, he looks quicker again this year, so you can only
You
imagine
know,
like can he continue to even get quicker and quicker, right? So
it adds credence to that point that we've heard like all through every preseason, with a lot of young guys, like a guy like Jack Nesbitt, where they're saying, hey, the guy just needs to add strength and he'll get
yeah,
faster. I mean, Bobby Brink is a representation of that. Like the kid obviously was never a burner. He just like clearly worked on his lower body strength. I mean, it's obvious. Like he wins, he's a lot harder to get off the puck. He's beating bigger players in battles and he's become explosive. Like he's not fast like Owen Tippett or Jet Luchanko, but he's explosive.
he
His
can
feet
keep his own in a race, that's for sure.
yeah,
So
and his feet never stop moving. And he is like before, I was like, is he the odd man out? Right now, I don't really think there's an odd man out, to be honest with you. They're probably just going to go with this group. And again, how do you break up this line? They've been so good. I mean, Tyson
you don't,
Forrester
yeah.
is a gem of a player in general because he offensively he's better than both of them. He's as good at both of them defensively, and he's younger than them. So, and he's big. So, it's like the combination of that three, you probably don't want to break up that line anytime soon, right? So it's just really impressive to see. But I think Noah Cates is like the leader of that group at the same time, right? He's the oldest of the three. He is the best defensively of the three. And he obviously plays the center position. And it's just like it's a testament to a lot of these people who like we combat this all the time on the show. It's like this lack of patience. We're going to talk about another player right after this. That people kind of like they put ceilings on players, like the whole Jet Luchenko's a third line center type. This is all complete nonsense. It's first of all, it's not up to you guys. It's up to the player and his work ethic, his ability to adjust to the league. And Noah Cates, again, he is a brilliant hockey player, like future NHL coach, obviously within
Yeah.
this guy's brain as well. So like, you put that combination with the work ethic and, you don't look at Noah Cates and go, hey, this is the most talented player. Like he's going to burn people. He's going to do all these crazy moves. No, he's just incredibly efficient
And
and
work ethic
very
goes a long
smart.
way. So
He's got a lot of that, like that Mike Richards in him, that like Richards just always found a way. He was
He's
never the
always hounding the
fastest.
puck, never giving up. Yeah.
Right. He just always found a way. Noah Cates has that in him. He always finds a way. And the nice part is that it's spreading to other players, which is even
Yeah.
better, because we need a lot of those guys on this team. Um, so let's talk about another player that I probably was his best game of the season yesterday, just from a sure standpoint of just like eye popping moves, but also by the metrics. Jamie Drysdale has and I. It's funny because I go back to seeing somebody comment on one of our videos calling Jamie Drysdale an ECHL player. Right now, his analytics are second in the league, above Gustav Forsling and above and right below Cale Makar. So above Devin Taves, Brent Burns, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Adam Fox, Colton Parayko, Jacob Chikrin, Aaron Ekblad, Will Brogan, Braden McNabb,
Yeah.
Cam
So
Fowler. So
that's if you're looking at like expected goals for per 60, expected goals against per
yes,
60,
thank you
expected
for
goals for
clarifying.
percentage. So Drysdale right now is a 2.89 expected goals for per 60 in the league, 1.67 expected goals against per
Which is even
60.
more impressive.
Yeah, right. And expected goals for percentage in general, 63.45%. So just with that and like the company you see him with, like all these guys, are well-known defensemen, guys that have been tops in the league in certain respects, like with Makar, Forsling, Taves, like Fox, Parayko, Chitrin, Ekblad, all that stuff, right? So just the company he's with and the fact that like if you're looking at the expected goals for metric in general, like usually when you're over 60%, even over 50%, you're typically controlling play when you're on the ice. And what it seemed like to me is when Sealer and him are on the ice as a pair, they're doing a pretty good job of breaking things up
Yep.
in their own zone. Like when they do have an offensive or the other team like is in the zone offensively and then kind of moving the puck up ice quickly and kind of turning that defense back into offense. So I think they've been doing a really good job as a pair so far. And even in terms of like the pair in general on Money Puck, they're like one of the top lines right now for defensive pairings. I think they're like 20th, but let me just bring that up real quick here. 1 second. Yeah, so right now they're 23rd in the league in terms of all defensive pairings with the 71.7 expected goals percentage. So some of those other pairings are like Taves and Burns, Tucker Parayko, Gillespie Nikishin are like 80%. They're like top five. So they're with some really good company. And you have to factor in like it's not like Nick Sealer. He's a really good complementary defenseman, but he's not like a world beater out there as like a top four defenseman. He's typically on a really good team of bottom pair guys. So imagine how efficient Drysdale could become if you had him with like a bona fide, top four type defenseman, right? It's really
Yeah.
encouraging.
Yeah, it's really encouraging stuff from Drysdale. And again, it's like it's this game of patience when it comes to development. And we were
He's
making
only
fun of
23, right?
yeah, we were making fun of this whole players peak at 21 nonsense that came out through analytics, which the more I see analytics on Twitter, the less faith I have in analytics that's on Twitter, not in analytics in general, but how it's consistently misused. And it's really good to see. He's not piling on the points, right? He has 3 assists in 9 games. It's not like he's just doing offensively, just defensively, breakouts, his skating ability. It's all coming out. So hopefully the offensive numbers start going up too.
This
Because
is a
then,
precursor, I would say, to
yeah,
be
yeah, I
honest.
think
That's
so
the way
too.
I look at it. Like you see the expected goals for metrics, you see the type of upper echelon defenseman he's kind of in the same conversation with. Like when you see those metrics and you're constantly controlling the puck when you're on the ice, constantly controlling play, and he has that skating ability that we've seen, and he can pass the puck well. Like it's only a matter of time before it all clicks together. And I think we're kind of starting to see it all formulate. And hopefully with like some more, offensive opportunities, like he kind of takes that step on the power play, right? And I think that's kind of the next piece for him. Like have it click maybe on the power play, see some more production there.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. And it seems like the internet crowd's getting behind Drysdale finally, so we can. The one thing I find the most annoying is like I saw Cole Caulfield. Obviously, Caulfield's a great player, and he scored another overtime goal. And people were like, "Oh, Flyers could have had Caulfield, and they have York." And I'm like, "Yeah, but York is awesome. And imagine our team without Cam York." I was like, "We'd be in a
Yeah,
lot of trouble."
imagine York and Brink
Right,
removed, right?
right.
So think
It's
about
it's all
that.
Yeah, and it's like it's just like I hate this like apples to oranges consistent comparisons that everybody's doing. It's like really annoying to me. It's like it's I think Cole Caulfield's awesome. I would love to have him on the team, but I see the value in the players that we do have.
York and
Uh,
Brink are two pretty valuable players
yeah.
in their own right. So you got to look at, two situations,
It's
right?
funny how nobody goes to like the Forrester draft and goes, oh, the fly. Like they only do the ones where they can point out the negative, but not like the positive. That like Tyson Forrester is probably like a top 5 player in a redraft in his draft year. It's like, and they
People
took
hated that pick, man. I always
right,
said, like, when I saw Dale Howardchuk hyping the kid up, I'm like, this guy's a legend. He knows hockey. Like, there would be a reason. There's like, yeah, there would be no good reason for him to be giving him this type of praise if he didn't think the kid was gonna
right.
be a really good player. So that's the way I gauge it. Like, if
Well,
you're a legend in the game and you're giving a player of that age, like just entering a draft, like, yeah, he's gonna be a good player. You're gonna see, like, that's not something to be taken lightly, in my opinion.
yeah, and,
So
and nobody's going like, oh, the Flyers got Dan Vladar and like they made the right signing, even though everybody was down on it. Like people aren't saying this stuff publicly. Like nobody wants to go for the positive. They only want to do, oh, here's the burn on you, and it's like I don't have any patience for that type of stuff because usually it's inaccurate anyway
yeah.
to begin with. The only one you can really throw at the Flyers is the Nolan Patrick one, which okay, but Nolan Patrick's career ended because of head injuries, not
Anybody
because he
would
wasn't
have,
talented.
yeah, he had a lot of talent, right? Like, and a lot of people would have made that pick, not just the Flyers.
Right.
But yeah, like moving on, I guess to the next guy in Zegras.
Yeah, go ahead.
He really, really popped last game, like just in terms of a lot of reasons. First of all, the scoring continues for Zegras, right? Like he had some, setups on the power play, right? Like that power play setup, he was a part of that. But really, like I thought it was hilarious, just in terms of like the chirping he was getting into, like the after scrum stuff. Like he was really vocal and really getting like into the rivalry. So for me, I thought that was hilarious just in terms of last game. Like he had
True.
that chirp. I don't remember if it was Connor DeWar or what player it
I
was,
think it was. Yeah.
but like
The
I remember
mustache comment.
watching, yeah, like I saw him mouthing like, "What nice fucking mustache!" Like that's the best. Oh my God, that's the best chirp ever. You love to see that stuff. It just shows guys are engaged. They're like in the game. They're competitive. They want to win. Him pushing off to what's his name's Achari's helmet at the end too.
Yeah.
Like that's hilarious. I can't wait to see these two teams meet up next time just to kind of see what
Yeah,
unfolds.
it was nice
But
to see the rivalry brought back.
reignited by
Yeah.
Zegras a little bit.
Yeah.
But aside from the last game, I mean, the offense for Zegras is really picking up, right? Like
Point
I
per
believe
game.
his point a game, 9 points in 9 games.
Hmm.
I think 2 goals, 7 assists right now. So
Same as
we're
Cooch.
seeing, yeah, we're seeing more of the assists, but that's what his game is, right? Like he's a playmaker. He's a guy that's gonna, set the guys up around him. We're gonna see more goals from him, obviously, as the season goes along. And I think as the power play clicks more, you'll probably see more from him there from a goal scoring perspective, just because you have the one-time chances and opportunities.
Yeah.
But I think he's meshing in really well, just with the team. Like he seems to have chemistry with a lot of guys, like just in terms of like the passing, like it doesn't seem out of place when they're just kind of putting random combinations together sometimes. And just one thing I noticed, right? Like this is the second or third game I believe we've seen Michkov and Zegras together, and like we're really starting to see them off the rush. Like they had a really nice play last night where Michkov in the neutral zone found Zegras as he's kind of entering the offensive zone, makes a really clean zone entry with the stick handling, stick handles around the Penguins player, passes it to Michkov, and then he kind of has an opportunity to cut in and get a breakaway chance. So I think we're just going to see more and more from them off the rush in terms of like how they can create in the neutral zone as they get more familiar with one another, like with the chemistry. So
Mhm.
that's what's exciting for me is like these guys have played together just a couple games, and we're already kind of seeing plays like that get made. And then one last thing I had on Zegras was just Tocchet's perception around Zegras and what he mentioned in his press conference today. He stated, we talked at the start of training camp. I said to Zegras, "Are you doing stuff for clicks on social media, or are you doing stuff to win hockey games?" And he said to me, "I want to win hockey games." Talkett praised Zegras' practice habits as well. He said he should be doing stuff not for clicks. He should be doing stuff for winning hockey games. That's what he wants. I think there's a fallacy that he wants to be some social media guy. So for me, like that's really positive to see your coach saying that about Zegras. It's obviously they're
Yeah.
on the same page, despite, all the negativity that was kind of surrounding Zegras before he came here. Like it's clear to me that he's determined and he realizes, hey, like if I want to succeed here in Philadelphia, I need to put the work in and, show the coach the kind of work ethic that I have, right?
Yeah. No, he's been excellent. Also, his tenacity has increased, right, as the games have gone on. We saw most of that probably last night, but obviously had a big game before that. He's just been a big part of the team. And
Yeah,
it
that
does,
Islanders game, right? He was
yeah.
really lights out.
And it really does add to the value of a guy like Dvorak, right? Who's like, I feel like that combination allowing Zegras to kind of play his game and Dvorak kind of being that guy. One, he's definitely doing the forechecking for that line, and he's throwing hits and whatnot, and
He's chipping
his
in too offensively, right?
yeah,
I
and
mean,
he's also 58% on the faceoff dot. He took over Couturier as number one faceoff guy on the team, and it's really allowing Michkov and Zegras to play their game, and it's definitely allowing
focus on
Zegras.
offense. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, at the same time, also both of them clearly are paying attention more to defense. It's kind of like what we were just talking about with Noah Cates. It's like there is kind of this like infectious nature that comes with a guy playing like Dvorak, who's very defensively responsible. It's why we wanted, we were talking about in preseason that if Michkov and Zegras were going to be together, we want a guy like Dvorak or a
Well,
guy like Cates or a guy like
he's like the example in a
Couturier.
sense, right?
Right.
Like
The
look at
veteran too.
yeah, the veteran example, but yeah, if you look at it, right, like he's the example in the sense that hey, look at how I'm going over here on this coverage or look where I'm going in the zone here. Like that's basically what you should do if you were in my position. So it's almost like look at me, kind of copy me type of thing. Like
Yeah.
obviously you're all playing different positions. You have to be in different places on the ice, but
But it's important with coverages
yeah,
and
like if
supporting.
one guy goes one place to be able to know, hey, he went out of his desired coverage, I need to cover for him. So just being on the same page. But right now that line seems like they're on the same page in terms of the chemistry or getting there, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about Michkov a little bit. So while he wasn't on the score sheet last game, he did have an assist the previous game, and he
could have scored
scored.
a goal on that breakaway
Yes,
chance.
yeah. Actually, he had several opportunities in that game. He also had really nice setups. He set up Sealer for a beautiful play. That
Yeah.
was probably the best we've seen of Michkov in the regular season so far. The closest we saw to last season, Michkov does seem to be finally probably getting in game shape. This is like the downside of Michkov. Like obviously, look, whether it's the ankle or whatever, hopefully he learns from a guy like Bobby Brink, right? Like whatever it is, Michkov has to come in, and I'm talking about future here. Like next season, I hope he learns from this, regardless of what happens with your ankle or whatever. All these guys have kind of pain. I mean, Forrester was dealing with an injury, right? You need to be in the best shape of your life coming into camp. They got rid of this like testing, it's irrelevant. The results will play out on the ice, and as he adapts now to a new coach, there's new expectations. He is improving, and it's crazy how good this team has played with Konecny, who also his game is also improving. He obviously had a huge goal last night and several scoring opportunities. Um,
Yeah, but through 9 games, they haven't been like to your point,
right,
Konechny, Michkov have not been
and
driving
yet
the offense at all.
and
So
yet the team is winning. So you can only imagine because they will come out of this. This is not like, oh yeah,
yeah.
that's it for Michkov. He's going to be, a 30-point guy this season. Probably not. He's probably still going to hit something similar to what he did last year. And same with Konechny, right? So it's important to get these guys going. The chemistry that you talked about they're forming is really important. And it seems like right now there really are three lines that we're looking at. And
Yeah. And on
it's
any given night, they could be like that top line, maybe, right?
that's why I said the Flyers have three second lines, right? That excel in different aspects of the game. And obviously with Owen Tippett having a great season, at least start to the season, he slowed down a little bit in the scoring, but he still looked really good against the Pens. Like he's still getting breakaways, getting shots, throwing body
He had a
checks.
clear shot like in the third period where he
Yeah, it was a nice
kind of
save.
drove in, nice save by Shilovs. But yeah, like you
Shilov's
want
the
to
only
see him.
reason they were in that game at all.
He had some 10 bellers. But yeah, like to your point, the thing is that I noticed with Tippett, and even
That game should have been
this
5-2.
can kind of even relate to Michkov. Like when you see these types of guys getting chances and it's not going in, that's still a good thing. Like
Yeah.
it's when you don't see them create the scoring opportunities when you have to worry. Like you're not seeing them get to the areas they should be. You're not seeing them get to those high traffic areas or making those types of passes to their other teammates in those areas as well, right? So I think the big thing with Michkov is he's now getting to those areas that we saw him
Yep.
succeed so much last season, getting to the front of the
Totally.
net, getting open in those lanes for those passes from other players, for example, like the Zegras play we saw last
Yep.
night, knowing where to be, stuff like that. And conditioning plays a factor because if you can't get there in time, right, then you're not going to be there for that chance. So I think as we see the games elapse here, we're kind of seeing him play himself into that, more game condition. You're seeing him get back to normal a little bit.
Yeah.
I expect it's going to continue. Like we see the chances coming. That's only one sign of it for Michkov. That means the next step is they're going to start going in for him. And that's typically what happens,
Yeah.
right?
And he probably was a big focus of teams like pregame plan, just of what he did last year. And now
Oh, of
with the
course.
offense, everybody is kind of a problem for you in that top nine. It becomes a little easier for Michkov now to find a little bit of space that he's probably not going to be the top target. But
But
look,
on any given night, like one other or the other line could be going. So you might have to
yeah,
focus if you're another team, like your best defensive pairing might want to focus on another line or another
yeah.
player, right? So
And we see it all the time. I mean, like Bedard had like a struggle period last year. Everybody was really down on him, talking about taking him out of center and all this stuff.
yeah.
Everybody freaks out over these young players. You just got to let it play out a lot of times. And look, and there are outliers like Macklin Celebrini, who's having an excellent season. And he reminds me of Sidney Crosby. I'm extremely high on Macklin Celebrini. I wish he was on our team. Like I love that kid. He's future, surefire number one center if he's not already, so you just got to let things play out. And just because there's some struggle moments doesn't mean you need to freak out. And it sucks as a fan to be patient, right? Like you shouldn't have to be, right? You're paying money, you're paying your time, so you want the results. But the reality is it's going to be a little bit up and down for a little bit, as the Flyers are still the third youngest team in the NHL. So it's just going to be, a little bit of nuancing. Okay, just want to remind everybody to please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for notification, get notified when we release these episodes. And for the audio version, go to Spotify and iTunes. Give us a rating there if you can. All right, let's do a screen share. We're going to talk about this in the context of the Flyers being a potential playoff team, but we're also going to talk a little bit about the lineups in general. So at the beginning of the year, I think we both had the Flyers just missing the playoffs. They're
I had them missing at like 87 points, something like
Yeah, I
that.
think I
Or
had
like
nine. I think I had 90 points just missing the playoffs. I do you feel Here's the question. Do you feel a little more optimistic after what you've been seeing lately about them catching one of these
so
wild card spots?
So after this is 9 games, typically, like I said, I try to reserve an assessment at the 20 game mark for like what a team
For
is,
sure.
but we're halfway through that, right? So halfway through that type of sample size, we're seeing a lot of good things from the Flyers. And we're seeing some situations where, like that Carolina game where they could even have an extra win, right?
Yep.
And if they did have that extra win, they'd be third in their division right now. So if we're looking at the standings for the Metro, we have the Devils at 16 points, tops in the Metro. The Penguins with 16, second in the Metro. Carolina with 12, third in the Metro. Then you have the Caps in the first wild card spot with 12 points. Then you have the Flyers in the final wild card spot right now in the East with 11 points. So when I look at that and the way they've played, like I feel like there's been some games so far where they haven't even played their best but still gotten wins. So when I look at it that way, like the way the team and the chemistry is coming together, I think it's possible they could challenge, right? Like I think the main thing for me and the main skepticism I had before the season was what's the goaltending going to look like?
Right.
What's the
Yeah. Yeah.
defense going to look
Of
like?
course.
And right now, like if we're looking at goals against that they've given up, like I believe they've given up a considerable or considerably less amount of goals through 9 games this season versus last season. So I don't have the
Yeah.
numbers on right in front of me, but I know it's been like almost half or a full goal against per game that they've almost been giving up less this season so far. So if you're looking at it just from that perspective, like if you are going to give up that many lesser goals as you move along throughout the season, naturally you're going to just be even more competitive in these games versus how you performed last season. So I think it gives them a better opportunity. For me, the key things for them to stay kind of on this bubble and in the race as we move forward, it's going to be okay. First of all, what's going on with Ersson? Is he a healthy? Is that day-to-day thing, just day-to-day? If that's the case, and you have Vladar and Ersson kind of going forward as the tandem, and they've been playing well enough and continue like that play into the rest of the season, then I think you have a pretty good shot, right? I think that hurt the Flyers last year was just they're getting the worst goaltending in the league a lot of nights.
Yep.
If you're not doing that and you're automatically giving yourself like let's say between Vladar and Ersson like a 905 save percentage type performance night in night out, where you're only really letting in like 3 to 2 goals a game, perhaps, you're going to give this team a really good shot to win a lot of their games. And I just think last season they weren't getting that opportunity to stay and hang around in games. And when you give a team that, to our points that we made, right, that can kind of roll 4 lines comfortably, and if you give that team the opportunity to stay in these games, you could have on any given night one line doing it for you, right? And that's kind of where I think is their strong suit. I think the fact that they have that depth, they can almost like have one line a night kind of do it for them or kind of get them that win, perhaps, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, the goaltending was the big question mark on the table. And then the power play. The power play has looked better. I mean, they're not like the best power play in the league, but it's not an embarrassment as of right now. They've been able to drive some play and create opportunities and score on a semi-regular basis. And I really like, we were worried about the defense too with the injuries to start the year and not having Risto be part of the group. So considering there is no Ristolainen right now, I feel pretty confident that they can be a wild card team if what we see is consistent or even improves as the season goes on. And I have a gut feeling that it's going to improve just based on the youth and the fact that it's a new coach and a new system. And it looks like they're getting better as the season goes on, especially the way they played against Pittsburgh, who was like the hottest team in the league or one of them going into that game. So uh, it's been very encouraging. I like the combinations in the top nine right now. I'm very, very happy with these line combinations. They're working. We'll see if they stay consistent. Like maybe the Flyers will swap Michkov and Konecny at some point. We don't really know. Maybe they swap Dvorak with Couturier. That's if something like that happens. But the stability of the Cates line has been immensely needed. And then Sanheim and York playing excellent. Now Drysdale playing really well. And then Sealer's just doing Sealer things. I think it's been really, really positive. I do feel better about my, optimistic take that,
Wow.
they might even exceed it. Something happened?
No, yeah, I was just looking at like the goals against metrics. So
Yeah.
right now, the team that's given up the most goals in the league is San Jose with 46. That's not really a surprise. Just off the top of your head, where is the Flyers on the list? What do you think, Yariv? Where are they
Third.
in terms of like goals against, like lesser? Yeah.
Yeah. Either
Okay,
that
so
or per game, I guess.
right now they are 31st in the league in goals allowed per game. So that's 23 goals allowed so far.
You mean they're
So the
second in the league?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So like the way it looks in like on NHL.com is the team that gives up the most goals, which would be the worst, is labeled first. So the Flyers, in terms of goals against, are second last. So they're 23rd, or 23 goals allowed. The Caps are the only team with less goals allowed at 22. They're tops in the league. So the Flyers right now second in the league in terms of goals allowed, which I
That's a
did
team
not know.
defense.
Yeah, I did not know that. And like the goalies obviously have a part to play, but it's not just the goalies. It's kind of like you said, everybody, back checking, covering their gaps in the neutral zone, helping each other out in terms of like board battles, puck battles in the defensive zone. So there seems to really be a commitment to team defense.
Yeah,
And
and they're
then
they're scoring less because of it, probably. at
In
5-on-5.
terms of goals for, that's the opposite, I guess. So goals for the Flyers right now have 24. That is second last in the league, and the
Right.
only team that is worse than them is the Calgary Flames right now.
And that's why it's so important that Michkov and Konecny get going because they shouldn't be dead last
No.
offensively.
And that's the point, right? That like with the depth they have, we've been saying that they've looked good offensively, but they haven't even really like scored a ton of goals yet. So just imagine when they really start to click offensively, you see Konecny and Michkov really hit their stride. If you couple in that ability to, detriment other teams from scoring goals, which they have been doing so far, if you can extend that further on to the season and kind of make that a staple of your game, and then the goal scoring picks up, then this is kind of what the point we're trying to make is like this looks like a team that could be poised for a wild card position, right?
Yeah.
The things have to kind of stay together here, but like we're seeing the makings of it potentially happen and then potentially being like in competitive games till the wire, right till the end of the year here. So
Yeah, and they're leading through defense, and their
yeah,
penalty kill I think is sixth in the league if I remember correctly.
I
They're at
have it up here. Let me
88.6%, I think.
Yeah, so right now, penalty kill. Sorry, the page is loading here. Yeah, so they're sixth in the league, 88.6. The only
Yeah.
teams ahead of them are the Rangers, Predators, Avs, Winnipeg, and top PK in the league, surprisingly enough, is the Buffalo Sabres
Yeah.
at 91%. So
I mean, that's very impressive. But again, the special teams are playing a role. We said all the time, right? If the power play can be marginally good, the penalty kill can continue being as good as it's been over the past like 4 years. So at least middle of the road, but hopefully in that top five, top 10 range. And then the
yeah.
goaltending being adequate. They're a playoff team. They're not a cup contender, but they are a wild card spot type of
So
team. So that's what we're watching right now with an upside so they could improve as the season goes on too,
yeah,
which
power play right now is 17.2%. So that's 24th in the league. Right now, 20% has Anaheim and Seattle tied for 18th. I think that is like the
that's their
realistic
range. Yeah.
goal, right? Like if they can get to 20% and get like above between like that 20th and like 17th ranking. Because right now what it looks like is Florida 17th with 20.5% efficiency rating on the power play. Anaheim and Seattle both tied 18th with 20%. Then you have Columbus at 20th with 19%. So if the Flyers can get into that like 19-20% and get above, the 20th in the league
Yep.
there and keep the PK kind of at the level it's been, I think that's also going to put them in a spot where, hey, these are not killing us every single night. So it's only going to add to our ability to potentially pull out wins, which is in turn going to add to the ability to kind of be and continue to be in that wild card spot, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So just looking at the lineup, something I wanted to bring up now is the Porter Martone situation. So assuming he doesn't, miss the entire season, or even if the Flyers make the playoffs, I
Yeah.
was kind of like looking at it, and Luchanko could be in this mix too. Though I think by the end of the season, he's going to be able to go to the AHL, and I would imagine that might be the first route they take with him is AHL bound. But I can't see Porter Martone going to the AHL, especially after they said that they already think he's NHL ready.
And
And
he's killing it to start the
and
season for
right,
Michigan. So
yes. So I kind of look at this lineup and I'm like, if Dvorak can, or if Zegras is able to take back center, like I do wonder if we're looking at maybe this kind of lineup to start
wow.
to, which
I
you
think
add
a
a
lot of Flyers fans would be really excited to see that third line right there.
yes, and I'm just like looking at him like as a third line with Martone, Zegras, and Michkov that has like potential to be a top line in the league,
You could
and
take
then
advantage of a lot of matchups with that being your third
exactly.
your
And then
third line.
and then Dvorak on the fourth line, who's already been playing really well with Grabankin and
Yeah.
Hathaway.
And he's also a guy too with Dvorak that like if there's a situation where there's like a defensive zone draw and it's really important and you want more of a
Of
defensive
course.
acumen, you could just slide him back up, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Because again, that happens in games all the time, right? There's slight adjustments made,
certain situations where it's
situational
like,
play.
yeah, like you have a team's top line out against you. You're like, protecting a lead that's 2-1. You might want to get Couturier and Dvorak on the same line together for
Yep.
that shift, right?
So yeah, so I was just like thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, Luchanko, they could also call up if there's an injury, towards the playoffs. But I was looking at like what do you do with Bobby Brink, but I can't see them not extending Bobby Brink. I think he's for sure going to get an extension.
It's
Probably,
deserved, yeah.
yeah, for sure. I can't see them wanting to get rid of him.
Well,
But
just
if you,
imagine if, sorry, Yariv, imagine if you were like Briere, for example, and didn't extend Brink, what type of message that sends to
that'd be
your other
awful.
young players,
And your
right?
fan base, who's like
Yeah.
obviously in love with the kid
The
now.
guy's worked hard, he's improved his skating tenfold, he's gotten
Yeah,
better every year. Like that's what the definition of deserving an extension would be. So
yeah. I mean, and you could look at this lineup right now, and you can assume that let's say Luchanko starts in the minors next year because it'll be fine. This could be the lineup that you see next year, right? With
yeah,
without a big trade coming, which is possible. But all of these names on here are all core players, right? Like outside of Delorier and Obels, like everybody else can be a big part of this team's future in one way or another. So, the Porter Martone edition, like if the Flyers make the playoffs and he joins them, that could be a very deadly
very
addition
interesting.
that
Yeah.
could help them get past the first round. Because he's going to be a serious player coming into the league, right? We can anticipate an impact similar to what Michkov did. Maybe he won't be a 65-point player, right off the bat, but if he's a 50
50
point
plus,
player,
yeah.
yeah, that's a great third line
And
player. So
usually top five picks like that, like have the tendency to hit the ground running, especially when they
with
have had college
yeah,
time as well.
and
So
they're dominating college hockey
yeah, there's a
from the
precedence for
from the
that.
get go, like immediately dominating college hockey.
I think he's got
Um,
9 points already in like a couple
9 points
games.
in 6 games, yeah.
Yeah,
So and he's getting better as the season goes on. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's close to 2 points a game, which is that upper echelon college hockey prospect.
yeah.
The defense, on the other hand, you look at Risto, if he comes back in, let's just, we'll throw this out there. Um,
Hey, that's my ideal right there, that third pairing.
yeah, and I would say the defense has like its weakness to it a little bit, but it's outplayed its coverage so
Yeah,
far.
I mean,
And you wonder, this is what I was talking about. Like, is there an opportunity here to move an Andre and a Zamula in a package and
an
try to bring a
upgrade.
veteran in, yeah, of an upgrade? Maybe it's not something they're going to look to do this
Maybe
season,
it'll be too hard to do in season, but to your point, it could be something where like the conversations
off
happen around the
season.
deadline,
Yeah.
kind of like what we saw with Zegras, right? There's a guy they target, they like him, he might be available, who knows? But we have those preliminary conversations and set the stage, and then kind of pull the trigger in the off season. But the way it looks like with the defense, I mean, the one thing I would like about this with Andre Risto, Sealer Drysdale is Sealer Drysdale are playing just as good as a second pair could be right now. If you have Andre Risto, like that could be a second pair too. It's not necessarily, you don't necessarily have like a defined second pair. I think like either or, whichever pair is playing better that night could get more of the minutes, perhaps, right? You wouldn't
Yeah.
have to limit either or, and that's kind of the benefit, right?
Well, and this is what I was thinking too. It's like if you see two RFAs in Andre and Zamula, if you package them, with a pick or something, I have no idea. I'm just
Who knows? But let's say
spitballing,
you did have those two RFAs in a first round
and
pick.
you can
It's
find an
yeah,
elite guy to play with Drysdale, like what you were talking about, or a shirt like a top three defender.
that's
I mean,
ideal.
yeah, and you're looking at a much more formable defense, right? Especially if Risto, who in my opinion is a top four defenseman, playing in your bottom pairing with Sealer, like that is a shutdown pairing
Pair.
and a
If
half,
you ever,
right?
yeah, if you ever talked about one,
So,
definitely.
and it might be reverse, right? Like they might do something like this and find a different partner for Ristolainen, or they just go with what they have for the year, which is possible too, right? Knowing
Yeah.
that Bonk is on his way up, if they're completely out of a playoff hunt, there might be a different type of trade. If they are in the playoff hunt, just the way they're looking right
And an
now,
addition could like maybe make them even better, then who knows
this
what might do,
reminds me
right?
of the year where the Flyers were like in the top three in the division. Was it 2 years ago with Tortorella, where no matter who they played, they were annoying to play against. And
You
so far,
know,
that is what we've seen
this reminds me of a Flyers team from a long time ago. I'm dating myself. This reminds me of like the 2007, 2008 Flyers team.
before
Or I
Chris
don't,
Pronger.
yeah, a little bit. Kind of like you have a really good offense, you have a decent defense, you don't have that bona fide number one defender yet, but then let's say you added him and push everybody down a peg, then we're really cooking in a sense, right?
Oh, could you imagine like this?
and then like add Quinn Hughes or something to this defense. Yeah,
and then
you
you
know,
add a legitimate top pairing guy, and
that's
then
what I
have like
mean.
York with Risto and Drysdale
Yeah,
with. This would
that
be
that's what this team kind of reminds me of. Like
that's contender in
it
my
reminds me
opinion.
of that Mike Richards team where I don't know what year it was. It's either 05, 06, or 06, 07, but it reminds me of that Richards team where they were real bad. Like Richards and Carter joined the team. They were real bad their first
With
season. Then
Umberger added too.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Then the next season they made the playoffs and nobody thought they were going to make the playoffs and then went to the conference finals and lost to the Penguins. That's
Yeah.
what this team.
They
I'm not
added
saying they're going to
Hartnell, they added
yeah,
Briere, they added
team in.
Keemanen.
Yeah. I'm not saying that this is the same thing, but like you added Zegras, you added Dvorak, you have another year of these young guys getting better.
Well, this is why
It's
I
a
kept
little
saying,
different. It's a little different, but I see the parallels, you know?
yeah, and this is what I was saying about how we're like a year behind Montreal. Montreal made the right decision this year, right? They packaged their two first to get Noah Dobson, right, to add to that decor, and they've been a good team this year, better than they were last year. This is what the Flyers need to look to do, and they need to bolster this defense where they can
But
really have
yeah,
three good pairs out
I
there at
mean,
all
it
times.
it paid off for Montreal. Like they're 8-3, they're first in the Atlantic, so they're taking that step forward
They
based
did it, right?
off that addition. Yeah,
They built their system from within. They have holes. Their lineup still
they
has holes,
but
but
they
they
filled the biggest hole at this point.
yes,
So
exactly. And I think that's where the Flyers are going. And maybe it's Quinn Hughes, maybe it's a lesser player. You know, it can be a guy who's a little worse than Sanheim
someone
too,
who can
but
make an impact, though,
yes,
definitely.
immediately in the top four. And Risto's going to do some of that for the Flyers, but he's not like an elite offensive defenseman, right? He's got two-way ability,
That's
but
what they
that's what
kind of
they
lack,
need.
right? Like that number one, like, oh, 50 plus points from
Or
defense every season type of
yeah,
thing.
or like another Sanheim. I mean, if they want to be a real contender, they need another. Maybe York will turn into that guy. It's possible. Maybe Drysdale will, but typically teams don't want to bank on that. They want the proven
Yeah.
guy. So it would be a veteran. That's why when I was thinking that Ekblad would be available, I'm like, if there's any UFA, I would go. Yeah,
That's
that's
a
the guy I
perfect
would have gone
addition.
after is Aaron Ekblad. Like
Cup winner, top
I'm
pair
looking for
experience for a decade.
yeah.
So,
Like this
yeah.
team needs a 30-year-old top defender, like
Well,
a
I just
Niskanen,
think about like
a Timonen.
think about like when Vegas added Petrangelo, what that did to their blue line, their team, like a similar
Exactly.
type of
This
addition,
is what
right?
this is what I believe the Flyers are working to do. You know, they said for a while they're looking to build from the back end, and I think that is what their thought is. Like we want three good pairing, just like they have. You know, right here on paper, you have four good offensive lines.
You
So
need
if you can have four
something to
good offense,
mash. Yeah.
yes. And maybe Bonk will step up into that role next year. I don't know,
But he's
but they're
just a
not going to
young
bank.
player at this
Yeah, they're not
point.
going to
Yeah.
bank on it. So, um, we'll see what they do. But the Flyers, the molding is here. I think we like we said,
They've built a sufficient
2026
base,
offseason,
right?
dude.
Like in terms of the foundation, like the structural pieces to what you would need to, start competing and like those younger type
Yeah.
players that you need to add to your roster. Like they have that really good base now, especially with Martone. So
Yeah, and they have that Toronto first round pick, and quite frankly, right now the Flyers are better than Toronto, which I knew was going to happen. That not to that the Flyers would be better than Toronto, but that Toronto was going to take a step back. You know, you lose a
oh
guy like
yeah.
Marner, that's a huge
Well,
loss,
you lose 100 points and don't really do much to replace it at all.
dude.
It's gonna have a huge impact on your lineup.
The
So
delusion that that fan base had about Mitch
well,
Marner, and
hey.
dude, this is why I
I'm
warn
from
our
Toronto, Yariv, so I
well,
know
but yeah, but
about
you're a
it.
Flyers fan,
Doesn't mean
but
I don't hear the talk and the noise
yeah,
around me.
but it's delusion, and the Flyers fall into Flyers fans do this stuff too, where we call guys garbage or somebody called Giroux okay, it's like okay, okay,
Well,
second all time in points for the
I wonder
Flyers.
how Matthews and Nylander are feeling now they don't have Marner helping them out on the power play anymore. You
Well,
think their numbers aren't taking a little bit of a hit?
you
Like, come
also
on.
think that one of them is going to get targeted next
Yeah,
by the fan
potentially.
base. And this is what I
Potentially.
talk about is like we chase players away. It's a very bad idea. Just let the organization handle it. You can be unhappy with a player, but they chased Marner out of Toronto. That's the
Yeah.
reality. He didn't want to sign there because of the fan base. That's why. It's quite obvious. He was getting harassed. He was being blamed
Well,
everything.
the
One of the best
guy,
two-way
hey
players in
man,
the NHL.
he had to hire security at his house because he was scared that
Yes.
fans were gonna come
Na-
break in. And I mean, that's the benefit of playing hockey in Toronto, I
Yeah,
guess.
and this is a big market city too. So like you sign a big contract, there's huge expectations here and everything, but we can't chase players away. There's a reason these hockey players are running to non-big markets. It's like we want to be a place where it's good to play here. It
Yeah,
is good to
definitely.
play here. And it doesn't mean you can't be unhappy with the team when they underperform, but there is like a harassment level that can hit. And I don't think people are doing that right now. We were itching towards that on Tippett, but he shut people up pretty quickly. But we were heading in that direction. I saw it happening online. I was like, this is getting ridiculous. We're blaming the guy for stuff he didn't even do wrong, and we were jumping down his throat for every little thing. I was like, this is
That's
ridiculous.
just fans in general, unfortunately, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's damaging.
yeah,
So yeah, before we move on from this, I just wanted to show the minor league. So this is what I was talking about with the defense. Again, no Bonk, no Samson. They have Carter Bear, who's an ECHL guy who's getting time in the NHL. Guriev, who was playing in the ECHL before coming over. And then it's really this top four with Gilbert, McDonald as a pair. And then like Granz has been playing with Berger. Maybe he's going to be playing with Murchison now. Guryev's been rotated in and out, so you can see how much they're missing Bonk
yeah,
and
they're having to
Samson.
hold the fort down right now, Gilbert and McDonald a lot for
Yeah.
sure.
The offense, on the other hand, I mean,
Is
massive.
stacked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rizzo has been sent to the ECHL. Tuamala's barely playing. He's playing like every other game. Marudi's the veteran that they're subbing out. Sawyer Bolton, obviously, is the muscle. Eklund's being rotated in. You know, they sat Richard one game. Um, but this top nine, top 12 is
A lot
pretty
of young
loaded.
guys. A lot of
Yeah, and
young
they're
guys.
using Wisdom as a center, which is really interesting and could help him make the NHL because he's got the mold to be a center. So the physicality and all that. So he's been fourth line center for them. And they've been pretty effective. He had a 2 goal game the other day. I for the life of me, I still don't understand why he didn't get signed and Eklund did.
Yeah, it's
Don't get it
interesting.
at all because Wisdom, in my opinion, is a better player than Eklund already, and he's younger. So I don't know. It's interesting. All right, let's end on that note. Let's just do the quick prospect updates, and then we'll stop there.
Sure.
So we'll do what we usually do. So I'm going to read the first half, and then Vasili's going to read the second half. Again, we're just on elite prospects. So if you guys want to do that yourselves, you can always track, you know, player statistics, and we'll do like a quick insight on each one of the prospects, and then we'll end it after that. So Max Westergaard is playing for Frölunda HC under 20 or he was primarily. It looks like he's still kind of going a little bit back and forth. He has no points for the men's league in 6 games, but a +1, most likely playing a bottom six role, probably the fourth line. But in the under 20 league, he is demolishing that league. 16 points in 9 games, 4 goals, 12 assists. Nathan Quinn, still near a point a game. He has 11 points in 12 games, 5 goals, 6 assists in the queue. Jack Nesbitt, 9 points in 11 games, 0.82 point per game right now. We'll see if he can get back up to that point per game where he was. Porter Martone crushing it for Michigan State. 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points in 6 games, a 1.5 point per game. Has been incredibly impressive for Michigan. Matthew Guard, really good second year so far. 8 points in 10 games on a bad team. 5 goals, 3 assists. So definitely continuing where he left off. Looks like he's going to have an even better season this year than last. Ilya Paltov, kind of splitting time between the MHL, the lower league, and the VHL. He's been up with the VHL for a little bit now. In 12 games, he got 1 goal, 2 assists, but he did have 4 points in 6 games prior in the MHL. Owen McLaughlin is a point per game guy. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I imagine he's just going to go to be a free agent after this year, but he does have 3 goals, 4 assists in 7 games. So pretty good for him. Massimo Rizzo is playing in the ECHL. He does have 6 points in 4 games. He's probably too good for that league. But again, I think it's a numbers issue with Rizzo. He's got 1.5 points per game. And I imagine he probably will get called up eventually. He just doesn't have a role. Carson Dorwart leads the Phantoms in points right now, 5 points in 7 games, 3 goals, 2 assists. Excellent start for him. Also a potential call up. Seems like he's adapted to AHL very well. Santeri Silku, he's playing mostly in the Mestis League. 5 points in 5 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, and playing a little bit in Liga, the men's league, the pro league down there. Um, no points in 3 games. So I think he was sent back down recently. Cole Knuble, 5 points in 6 games. Very good start for him. 2 goals, 3 assists, continuing where he left off with Notre Dame. Austin Moline, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points in 9 games. Much better start for him in the U.S. Hockey League. So he's improving, which is good to see. Emil Andrae had his 5 assists in 6 games for the Phantoms. Anthony Richard, he's not really a prospect, but 4 points in 5 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. Devin Kaplan, still 2 goals, 2 assists. He was a point per game, dropping a little bit now to 4 points in 6 games. Jack Murtagh, first college year, 4 points in 7 games, 2 goals, 2 assists for Boston University. Helge Grans has 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points in 7 games. Pretty good for the mostly defensive defenseman. Tucker Robertson has 4 points in 3 games, so over a point a game for him. 1 goal, 3 assists, playing on the fourth line, but I think he had 2 assists when Wisdom scored twice because he's playing on a line with him. Alexis Gendron, not lighting it up scoring wise quite yet. 1 goal, 3 assists in 6 games, still not bad point per game, but
No,
I
not
expect
bad.
more goals out of him. Alex Bump, 1 goal, 2 assists in 7 games. He's played well, but hasn't found the back of the net enough. And then Denver Barkey has the same 1 goal, 2 assists in 7 games. He is playing top line though, which is very interesting. So we'll see how I expect both Barkey and Bump's numbers to increase as the season goes on. Alex Ciernik, in 16 games in Liga, his new league. He's struggling a little bit there offensively, though it is a step up from the Allsvenskan league. So 1 goal and 2 assists in 16 games. We'll see if he adapts as he continues in that league. We thought he was going to play for the Phantoms this year. It didn't happen. Jack Berglund has no points in the SHL in 11 games. He is also playing a bottom line role, similar to Westergaard. But again, in the under 20 league, he had 3 assists in 2 games. So they probably don't know where to put him. A Luchanko situation. And that's it. And then you take over.
Yeah, sounds good. So, Shane Van Syge's next up. With Michigan State University, he's got 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points in 6 games so far. He's had a decent start there, as we've seen with Martone as well. Jacob Gaucher for the Phantoms right now has 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points in 7 games. We have Ty Murchison with the Phantoms as well, who's got 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points in 7 games. Noah Powell next up for Arizona State University right now. He's just got 1 goal in 6 games, so a bit of a tough start for him at the NCAA level again. Carl Gunstrom for the Phantoms right now has 1 goal in 7 games. Lane Pedersen as well for the Phantoms also has 1 goal in 7 games played.
That's the Phantoms top line, by the way.
Yeah, which is interesting. Dennis Gilbert in 5 games has 1 assist for the Phantoms so far. Hunter McDonald in 7 games has 1 assist as well so far. Luke Vluzwick for the Red Deer Rebels in the WHL. He has 1 assist in 12 games, so
But
not
he
much
is a plus,
offensively.
but he is +6. He is
Yeah,
a
which is
defensive
good.
defenseman, which is good.
Exactly. So he's on the ice for those goals. Oscar Eklund in just 2 games has 0 points right now and is at a -1. Ryan McPherson for University of New Hampshire in the NCAA in 2 games played has 0 points and is also a -1. Spencer Gill was injured in the
Yeah, I
QMJHL.
think he has a serious
Um,
injury.
yeah, so he's going to be out for a bit, but yeah, no points in 2 games for him. That's a bummer because he looked like he was kind of poised to take a big step this season.
Hmm.
And then Artem Guriev, just in 3 games with the Phantoms, also 0 points and is a -1. Tuamala in 3 games for the Phantoms has 0 points. And then
Crazy. He was an all-star last year and he's not
yeah,
playing.
it's he's definitely out of favor for some reason right now. And then Carter Amico for Boston University. He's a -4 with 0 points in 7 games, but he is a defensive defenseman. So the points aren't really as much of a top consideration. Then we go to the goalies. And for the goalies, we have the top cream of the crop, obviously, Igor Zavragin. So far this season with Scott St. Petersburg, he's got a 2.66 goals against average and 9.2 or 0.922 save percentage, and he is 3-5. So they haven't started out so great, but he's been putting up some pretty decent numbers. And then for the Phantoms, we have Kolosov with a 2.50 goals against average and a 0.920 save percentage, and he's 3-1 to start the season off in 4 games. And lastly, you have Carson Bjarnason. Who in 3 games played for the Phantoms has a 2.53 goals against average and a 0.910 save percentage, and his record is 1-1-2 currently.
Yeah.
So that's
Lost
it
in
for the
overtime
prospects.
twice. Yeah. All right. That's it for us. We'll end on that note. Anything you want to leave our audience with before we close out?
No, just everybody, please continue to check out flyersnittygritty.com. There's always a ton of written articles and content up on there, so we appreciate everybody giving those a read.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and by the way, the Phantoms are playing right now.
So if you're interested, there's something
Uh,
to do.
yeah. All right. Just want to remind everybody to please like and subscribe. Hit the notification button for notification. Get notified when we release these episodes. For the audio version, go to Spotify and iTunes and give us a rating and a follow as well. Again, this is the best way to support the show. So if you made it this far and you're not subscribed, please do so now, or at the very least, give us a like. We humbly appreciate it. It helps grow our show and our channel. So please do that. And also shout out to our sponsor, Jim Steaks at 4th and South. Make sure to go get yourself a cheesesteak from Jim's. They have one of the best, if not the best, cheesesteak in Philadelphia. Public Summit Adjusters, 215-752-0560. Go to them for your insurance adjustment needs. They will help facilitate the process between you and your insurance company and make sure you get the best claim possible. And shout out to sportspider.com. They are our partners. They aggregate content from all over the internet, articles, videos, podcasts, everything like that. So you can go there for all your Flyers needs. And our stuff, because we are partners, is pinned at the top when we release it. So thank you again for listening. Thank you, Vasili, for being awesome as always. We love you guys. And remember, always stay